turn to one last question in this segment, and then we'll take a break. We'll come back and we'll keep doing questions and stuff. But because fuck off, Kevin. Because, because I think that this is just a good. So music, right? How long have you been making music? This is all going to lead to a larger question.
No, you're good. Like since high school, so about 10 years now.
Okay, and then I saw on Instagram a while ago that you said in the last 2 or 3 years you've like really doubled down on it, right? And so, is it safe to say that you feel like this is your thing? Making music is your thing?
I like to think so, but it very well can't be. I'm not foolish enough to know like music is simply just one thing, like it's one aspect of life. So there's plenty of things that could be my thing, but I would like to think this is like one of my things. Yeah.
What makes you think that? What leads you to that? Like what inside you tells you that, whether it's just making music or art in general, right? Because you can be expanded to whatever. I don't want to pin you down to like too fine of a thing, because I don't know. That's another thing I want to ask you is about the other creativity that you do. But so however you want to define this thing, right? What inside you, what tells you, what in your life tells you that this is your thing? How do you know that this is your thing?
Well, I think that it's almost like a passion. So it's like passion projects. So the thing that you think about the most, or the thing you have a strong feeling about the most, I think that's the thing you should always pursue, whether you make money from it or not. That's where it gets a little tricky, right?
Totally.
Got to find the balance.
You got to find the balance. But if that's the thing that you're thinking 80% of the time, like even right now, I'm like thinking about it, right? So I think like, all right, when I go home, like what am I, stuff like that. And I think that's what you should pursue, for better, for worse. And yeah, I guess that would be my answer for it.
Yeah. I think that's good. I've been thinking about that a lot lately. But you know, probably once or twice a year, Colin and I have times where we have to we get into our own heads about personal stuff, about whatever, and we have to kind of like sit down and like recommit ourselves, you know, to the show and be like, no, this is what I want to do. Like, I do want to be doing this. This is worth the sacrifice. This is like worth the whatever, you know. So I've written about that before, and I've been thinking about that a lot this week. And
what up, Bilbo?
I think that when you find your thing, this is how I would describe it. Like, you almost can't describe it, right?
Yeah.
I was trying to talk to Jordan about it last night, and it was through the lens of being honest, right? When Jordan and we were together for about a year, I arrived at a point where I stopped lying. I stopped lying to everybody at all times about anything. I am 100% honest all of the time, and for a ton of reasons. It makes my life easier. It's like, right,
it's easy. It makes life a lot better,
right,
yeah, for sure.
Right. And when I started doing that, and I started saying things that I knew were true, and just like really speaking my mind and making sure that I was living by like morals and principles that I had, there was a lot of times where I was making decisions that I couldn't point to factually were the right thing, but I was following my gut. I was just following the same feeling that I had inside of me every time when I was at a point of like, should I tell the truth or should I not tell the truth? Telling the truth makes me feel this way. I'm going to do that thing. And so remembering that feeling inside of me is what has always driven me through any of these moral or principle decisions. And I've had a lot of questions from a lot of different people of like, how can you do this, or why would you do this, or whatever. And I couldn't describe to anybody the feeling that I get inside of me when I see a moral decision pay off, whether it is years down the road or anything. When I see that happen, and it's not like now I have $500. When I've seen the conclusion of that and I know that I made the right decision, the pride was the word that I had last night, but it's not the right one. That's just what I could find last night. The level of pride that I feel is unspeakable. It is nearly divine. It's undescribable. That feeling of this is the truth. This is the thing, you know? And like, that's what always drives me in this show, because this is the avenue of that for me. But the pursuit of liberty, freedom, personal responsibility, and just generalized truth. Like, truth is my favorite. Truth and honesty. That's really like, it's that feeling of divinity and almost synchronicity with the fucking universe. That like, that's it. You know, and I could never describe that to anybody better than I did here, because that's the length of it. And I know I almost feel sad for people who go their whole lives and don't ever feel that, because it's so unique that there's literally nothing like it. You know, there is nothing like it other than that feeling that I experience. And so I feel sad for people who live that existence that we talked about, that they're so caught up in regular life that they never have that feeling of like, this is the fucking thing, you know, this is me connecting with the universe.
Yeah, it's insane.
Like, that makes me very sad that people don't have that because it's so beautiful, you know?
No, absolutely. It's hard to, I wouldn't say jive with people, but it's hard to, when people say they don't have that thing, it's like, you don't, like, at all.
Yeah.
Like, nothing. Like, I remember going to Atlanta, and I spent, like, an hour. It was, like, an hour layover in Atlanta. And, like, for, like, rap, that's, like a mecca place, right?
Right.
And I'm like, you guys aren't, like, making music on the side? You guys aren't, like, doing anything? They're just working. And I'm like, I get it, but I'm like, man, this isn't, like, you guys just don't have that passion for this? Like, I get everyone's made different. Everyone has a different passion, but it's just insane to me. And it's a small thing, very, very small thing, but
Yes.
not to have like a passion, a burning desire for something that you want to pursue is, I just can't relate, I guess. I guess that's just what it is.
Yes. And I don't like it. I can relate to it to a certain point that like it took me a while to maybe like kind of pinpoint what that was, you know? I don't know. I've always, I think, I've made a lot of bad decisions, so I'm not trying to misrepresent what I'm going to say here. But I have had a proclivity to make decisions that are moral and are principled. You know, I've made a ton of unmoral.
Of course, yeah.
But I've always felt that pull in my life, and it wasn't until I like chased that I figured out what that thing was. You know, yeah, it's just sad. You know, that's a sad thing to see people doing that, be so caught up in what they have going on, to not be thinking about themselves, the person that's living the existence that they're going through.
Yeah, some people like it though. I mean, some people's whole, life is just to find a spouse and settle down. And
Right.
So it's different. I think it's different spectrums to it.
Yeah. Okay. And I try really hard to keep that in perspective, because there are fucking a million people who like don't, and I don't want this to sound denigrative. You understand, but
I understand
who
exactly
don't want more.
I know what you're about to say.
And
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
fucking so
crazy
foreign
to
to
me.
me
Yeah,
that I
crazy.
don't understand it. But I have to respect it, because first of all, who the fuck am I to tell you what you want in your life?
Exactly, yeah.
That's none of my business. But it does make me sad to see that, because I know the feeling that you're missing out on. I know what you aren't getting. But also, everyone can't be great,
That's the reality.
So there has to be some people who are like, who are like cogs in a machine, who like, that's what they're doing. They're happy doing that thing. And that sounds denigrative, but I'm going to do that in this particular conversation, because you understand this like level that we're talking about,
If you want to be a cog.
And I say that because we've talked about this, that in this show specifically, and they're like, we're not going to do that. We're not doing cog shit here. Like, and Larry's the one that said that.
Yep.
Larry said, if you want to be a cog, go do cog things. Larry Dixon said that, right?
Yeah. It's a fucking
Never
epic
forgot
line.
that, because I don't want to fucking be a cog in a machine. So I'm not going to do cog things. Like, we don't do cog shit around here because I don't want to do that.
Right.
There are more people than not that want to be a cog, or at least happy.
And the other side of that coin is like, if you're talking about your burning passion, the thing that you like want the most, if being not quote unquote a cog, or just finding that family, that 9 to 5 that's stable and all that stuff, well, you did it. You did, and that's the beautiful.
Right.
That's the beautiful
Right.
thing about it, though. It's like, hey,
That
you
might
already
be
did
your
it.
thing.
Regardless of what age you're at, if you were 21 and you got that, you did it.
Yes.
So.
And that's to that extent, I totally respect it.
Yeah.
Like, if that is your thing, then you have found it. You aren't
done
missing
it,
out on that thing. Because it is in no way a bad thing to be like, I'm the best fucking dad. That's amazing. That's incredible. That's maybe better than what I'm doing, because that's going to forever change that person's life. And maybe we'll do that too. I'm sure we'll, but like, what I'm doing is not better than being the best dad in the fucking world. I grew up without a dad. Being the best dad in the world, that's maybe the best thing you could ever fucking do. So it doesn't take away from that. It's important to me that, like I said, that feeling, that passion, like people find that thing, because that's really the sad thing is not having that thing. And if your thing is, like I said, being a dad or fucking whatever, then you aren't being a cog. Like, it's your whatever. You're doing cog shit, quote unquote, but you found your thing. And so to that end, I feel you have flipped that coin, So
Yeah, that can work. I think even like because I guess we're thinking about like extracurriculars on top of like, you know, let's say you need to live your cog lifestyle to support your passion.
Certainly.
To go after it, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that's what most people, I think, try to do.
Right.
But then some people find their passion while they're in that cogwheel lifestyle, and then all of a sudden, like you said, like maybe you didn't know it, and all of a sudden you're like, this is what I was put on this planet to be, is to be this greatest, you know, father and husband or whatever it is.
Yes.
That could certainly be something that you didn't even know until it happened. You go, no, this is my shit. This is where I'm at. And then all of a sudden, all the other hobbies or pastimes or pursuits or whatever just don't mean anything else to you. That's the one thing that does. But some of those things, like, you don't know until you stumble upon them.
Right.
Sometimes you're just good with, I just want a good job, I want a stable family, stable life, all that stuff, and then all of a sudden, then you go out and then you're like, hey, I've always wanted to do this thing, and then you start going after that. Or some people get it early and then they want to go after that thing and just do the cogwheel lifestyle just to support that thing. And some people will just do the lifestyle, and then all of a sudden one day something clicks, and then if it's a part of that uninspired lifestyle, for lack of a better term, as long as you found it and you didn't even realize that was your thing, then boom, there you go. You know, maybe it's your fucking, like, my dad had a big thing for landscaping around the house. Never did any kind of like professional work in landscaping, but for fuck's sakes, man, we had the best yards. He'd be out there digging, like, made a bunch of ponds and rivers and all this crazy shit, all this crazy ass flowers and trees and all that shit. And so he loved doing all that shit. And then he just ran a drywall company to make ends meet and to put food on the table and all that stuff. But like, that's where his happy spot was out there making a beautiful area for everybody to live in, friends to come over and all that shit. Right. I never really even thought about that until we were sitting here having this conversation. But because it could be, I want to be the best painter or the best, you know, song artist, or, you know, making beats, or doing, you know, fucking making videos, you know, whatever it is. I mean, it could be anything, or it could just be something that you didn't even know just comes along with whatever lifestyle you're living. Right. And that's because it is interesting to be in this room with you guys who have two very defined passions. And like, I don't know if I can clearly state that that's exactly where I'm at. And so I do kind of feel like an odd man out in this one. And so I'm trying to sit here and I'm trying to think because I like to do so many other things, and I like to pursue all these different things that we do here, and all the ideas and stuff that we go after and all that stuff. That very passionate about all that stuff. But I'm like, you know, I'm not on the same level as you. You know, it's a very different, like the feeling you're describing when you're talking about that. Like I've never achieved that. And so it's got me thinking about this whole process in my mind too. And like, I'm still in pursuit. Yeah. But that in itself is also kind of empowering too, just to always be looking, always be striving, always
say. I think that is one, because I think the actor James Franco, if I'm not mistaken, I think he was saying he can't be alone in his own thoughts, so that's why he'll randomly just go out and do something. Like, he's a licensed pilot. And he's an actor. Why does he need that, right? Yeah. So like, he just randomly goes out and does random things because he can't be alone in his own thoughts. He just feels like he has to pursue something, he has to conquer something. So I think that's a superpower in its own. I think it's just that passion. I just feel like, you know, if it's like Netflix, just chilling, it is what it is. But everyone has their thing.
Everyone's got their thing.
Everyone has their thing.
Sometimes you just don't know it yet. I like that.
Welcome to the south of the streets, coming at you every week.